You found Shameless! So this song was actually written the same day I wrote Liar, and I just wanted to, I felt like writing, I was in a place where I didn't want to admit that I had feelings for this guy, but I did for a really long time, and every time I would see him, I would be like, no, I don't like him, and then I would see him, and then I would just kind of be like all confused and shaken up, and so this was kind of when I really decided to admit to myself, okay, I like you. Like let's do this for real. I'm gonna stop, being scared of it. And so I remember in the studio, I wanted to write just kind of like a desire song about it because that's how I felt about this guy. And so Andrew Watt, who I was in the studio with, started playing this guitar riff, and I sang the melody for it, and I left because I had to go to rehearsal, and then the next day we were like, oh, this is really cool, and we put lyrics to the melody, and that's how Shameless happened. And it's really just about just kind of loving with your heart open and not being afraid of it. You've unlocked Living Proof. Living Proof was actually one of the first songs that I wrote for the album, and I remember I went into this album with just a bunch of lyrics that I'd collected, and I had the lyric idea for this song about really just how special it feels to just like be intimate with somebody that you're really in love with, and how just kind of like just heavenly it feels. And so that's kind of like why the whole thing is a metaphor for heaven and God, and just really kissing the person that you like can, I feel like that. And so, yeah, Living Proof was one of the most exciting days in the studio because I always go into the booth and I freestyle melodies, and that's how I write songs, and I'd never had come up with a melody that was that high in my vocal register. So that was really exciting. To Should Have Said It. Should Have Said It, I think I wrote the first week that I was writing the album, and so there's basically, you'll see that there's two kind of storylines in the album, which were happening in my life. And basically, somebody that I knew for a really long time, I had liked him, but he wasn't ready. And so then he liked me, but I was not really there to like him in that way anymore because I'd moved on. And I was just kind of angry about it because I was like, oh, now you're saying that you're in love with me, like you waited so long and now it's too late. And so Should Have Said It is about that. And it's just kind of, I was just angry because I was like, oh, why did you wait so long to tell me? You should have said it. And that's what Should Have Said It is about. Ah, señorita. Well, this song was technically the first song that I had for the album. It was the earliest song that I had for the album. And I don't need to tell you. You already know everything about this song. Congratulations! You found a liar. Liar was in the group of the last three songs that I wrote for the album. There was Liar, there was Shameless, and there was Used to This. And Liar is about the same. It was just me making fun of myself for pretending like I didn't care that this guy that I was low-key, deep down, I wasn't obsessed with him at the time, but I was definitely shook by him. And I didn't want to be, but I was. And so I remember walking into the studio and I was like, oh, I really don't want to like him, but I do, and I want to kiss him so bad, and I wish I didn't, but I do. And so that's what Liar is about. And basically, Liar was cool because the whole art for Liar, which is me with the kind of the art for Liar, which is me with the angel wings, kicked off the visuals for my album Romance. And I had, when I started writing this album, I wanted it to be just as much of a sonic experience as a visual experience. And I've always been obsessed with surrealism and fiction and anything ethereal or anything where you're kind of transported into not reality. And so the whole idea behind Romance, which you'll see on tour, is that you're kind of escaping into heaven, into this museum of loves and a museum of love stories. And so everything has that kind of like ethereal, like Renaissance, like angel feel. And with Liar, for the single art, it was like I was this angel in heaven, but Cupid kind of shot me with this bow, and I suddenly was not so angelic anymore because I had a secret, or I had something to hide. Congratulations, you have made it to Bad Kind of Butterflies. Bad Kind of Butterflies is a sweet way of describing anxiety. And this song I wrote, it was really like a medicinal process to write this song because I was going through a really confusing time in my life. I felt really, really guilty because I knew that I was hurting somebody that I really loved, or I could, at the time, I could be hurting somebody that I really loved. And I just felt really, really guilty and confused about it. And I just remember for a long time, I had this like really bad feeling in the pit of my stomach and this nervous, anxious feeling in the pit of my stomach. And that's what Bad Kind of Butterflies was about. I just felt kind of like in the track, I remember when I was in the studio that Hard Work, the producer that I was working with, I asked him to play me beats to write over, and he played me this one which sounded just kind of haunted and creepy and just kind of like eerie, and that's what I felt in myself. I just felt like I just felt a bad, not good feeling. And so I went in the studio and I kind of freestyled the chorus melody, and I came in with the lyric idea for Bad Kind of Butterflies, and that's how the song happened. And I think it really helped me kind of process those feelings and helped keep me out of my head and in my emotions about it. Easy. Was it easy to find this song? So Easy is one of my favorite songs on the album because I feel like in my first album I wrote a lot of songs mostly about the process of being infatuated with someone or loving somebody from afar. But I think Easy is like the most realistic and yet beautiful real relationship song because it talks about what it's really like to be in love with a human being for an extended period of time, which is not just, oh my God, you're so beautiful and amazing. Like, you are really seeing each other's vulnerabilities and each other's flaws, and you're seeing each other at your weakest moments. And, that's not like the perfect, like in a box, in love, infatuated feeling. That's real shit. And I think that when you go through that with somebody and they love you even more for that, I think that's real love and way more powerful and deep and meaningful than just being infatuated with somebody from afar. And it felt really good to write this song because I feel like it was a really vulnerable thing for me to say. And when I released it, I was even a little bit nervous about releasing it because it's not a super confident, you have your shit together thing to say. I always thought I was hard to love till you made it seem so easy, but that's what I felt at the time. And I think that it also feels nice to list all of your flaws in a song because then the person already knows, hey, this is a warning. This is what I'm like. So there you have it. This is what it is. And it just felt like a really cathartic, like honest song to write. And it's one of my favorite songs on the album and really representative of this whole era for me because it's way deeper than infatuation. It's real. It's real love. You have made it to Feel It Twice. So Feel It Twice I wrote the same week I wrote Should Have Said It, which makes sense because they're about the same thing and the same person. And, it was just about, I just felt bad that this person had been my friend for a really long time and we were really, really close. And when he confessed that he had feelings for me, things kind of got awkward because we weren't together. And so I felt like I was hurting him and I felt weird because we felt like we were kind of drifting away as friends. And everybody kind of knows what that's like when you have somebody that you're really close with. And I don't know, they say they have feelings for you and it feels tense. The friendship feels tense suddenly. And I felt really bad about hurting him, about hurting somebody that was my friend and was a big part of my life. And suddenly they weren't as much anymore. And it was one of the easiest songs to write. I remember the chorus idea, it came to me pretty fast. And oh my gosh, Dream of You. Dream of You is one of my favorite songs that I wrote for the album. I think because I feel like that's just such a sweet and innocent thing to say. All I do the whole day through is dream of you. It feels like probably the most uncomplicated song on the album. There's no conflict in it at all. It's literally just like feeling just innocently in love with someone. And I love that I have a lot of details about that relationship too that really, I feel like I really painted a picture of that moment in my life. And I, so much of the album is like, has a lot of songs that are about complicated situations. And it feels like this one is just kind of like sweet and innocent and pure. So, yeah. No, you found Cry For Me. So, Cry For Me actually had a different process than a lot of the songs I wrote on the album. Because basically, what I do all the time, if you look at my phone, I have about 3,000 notes on there. And all the time, I'm just kind of writing lyrics and, song ideas and, like concepts of songs. And I had this song that I wrote when I was 16 called I'm Pissed Off You're Happy. And basically, I was like dating a guy for literally 2 weeks, like 1 hour, basically. And we had broken up and he had moved on really, really fast with someone else. And I was just jealous that he moved on so fast. I was like, I'm so mad that you're having such a great time and I'm not. And one day I came into the studio and Frank was playing a really different kind of rock and roll track. And I was like, oh, this is different. And it was one of those days where I was just kind of scrolling through the notes on my phone and the lyrics on my phone. And I found this lyric idea from I'm Pissed Off You're Happy. And it had Cry For Me on it. And I just went into the booth and started kind of freestyling melodies, just kind of seeing what happened. And Cry For Me, the chorus kind of came out, and we finished writing it that day. And so, yeah, that was me pulling from my 16-year-old angry self. You have made it to This Love. So This Love is about, I think we've all been in this situation at one point or another where you really want somebody to just be in it like you are. And it's somebody that you're strangely kind of addicted to, but at the same time you know that they're not good for you and they're not completely leaving you, but at the same time they're not completely in it with you. And you're kind of like in this weird in-between where, you're not sure what to do because they're not letting go of you and at the same time they're not holding on to you. And so that's what This Love is about, is just the frustration of really wanting somebody to show up and be there, but they won't, and yet they won't leave you alone. Oh my God, you've unlocked Used to This. Used to This is the last song that I wrote for the album, and it's basically, I wrote down this lyric on my phone that was, I wrote down a bunch of lyrics on my phone that I used for this song, but the main one was that I kind of wrote the song about was it's going to take me a minute, but I could get used to this. And it's basically, I wrote it about someone that I had been friends with for a really, really long time. And then we started dating and I was just like, oh my God, this is crazy. Like, I can't believe I get to like kiss you in the middle of talking now. That's so weird. Or like get to like hold your hand, or it's weird that we're going to like call each other baby at some point. Like that's really weird because I've only called you by your name for like years. And so it's basically about just kind of first, like what it felt like first falling in love, and specifically, going to see him for a weekend in San Francisco and like what that was like. And I feel like this song was really special because I didn't feel like I was going into the studio to write a song for my album. It felt like I was just like painting a picture of that weekend and of that feeling and of what it felt like. And I feel like I'll like look back on that song when I'm older and be like, oh, I remember exactly what that was like. And it was really cool because Phineas, who I worked with on this song, he chose all the sounds in the track for a reason, and he wrote me a long explanation of why. Like in the beginning, you hear like noises that you would hear like in San Francisco on the street. I think it's a trolley or something. There's like a line about tequila shots and you hear tequila glasses clinking. There's a line about this person has like calluses on their finger from playing guitar. And so he has like the sound of an electric guitar on there. And so it's really beautiful in the fact that, I put so much detail in it. So it really means a lot to me. Oh my God, you've made it to the last song. First Man. It's my favorite song. First Man is 100% the proudest I've ever been of writing a song, hands down. And to me, this is just a song that I will always, always look back on. I know when I listen to this song when I'm 80 years old, it's going to make me bawl. Every time I listen to this song, I cry. And I've listened to it at least 125 times. And I wrote this song. This was the first song I really wrote for the album. I went to Nashville, and I wanted to write with this girl, Amy Wadge. And she called her friend over, who is an amazing piano player. And I was just starting to write the album, so I had a bunch of lyrics on my laptop. And I came in with all these ideas for songs, but I randomly just started talking about my dad and the fact that I was in a serious relationship for the first time, and my dad had never, I'd never like brought a guy home before and introduced him to my dad as my boyfriend or anything. And like my dad felt really sensitive about that because I think up until that point he'd just seen me as his little girl. I don't know if he ever thought I was going to get a boyfriend or anything. And he was just really sensitive about that and felt really protective and emotional about it. And I started talking about my dad. I started crying, and I came up with this lyric, "You were the first man that really loved me." And Amy was like, "Oh my gosh, let's write about that." And Jordan just started playing these chords that really made me feel something. And I started kind of freestyling the song, and just kind of stream of consciousness started saying all these things that you hear in the song now. And we finished it, and while we were writing it, I had to keep going into the bathroom to cry because I literally couldn't get through singing the song and through writing the song without crying, because every time I listen to the song, I picture my dad's face, and it makes me break. But yeah, this song is really, really special to me.